Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. This will be a standalone video on Gratefullness Meditation channel and Apocalypse Now channel, which I haven't been posting on. And it'll be an introduction to my Pockets of a Future video going up on Sunday, April 27th. And so it's just a brief message about this. You know, with the Sajmark system, there is these gatherings, 3 gatherings a year of the masters of the system, and it's a really good time to meditate. It's always free. It's information will be available on the Gratefullness Meditation channel. It'll start on the 29th of April, which will be a Tuesday, and it'll go on for 3 days, 2 meditations a day, one in the morning, one at night. And there'll be information updates on the Gratefullness Meditation channel for those people who are interested in participating. You know, I can't speak for other people's experiences. Like, everybody has their own, whatever. They go through their own thing. But, given what's going on in the world right now, and it's like we're in the quickening phase, the meditations have just gotten better and deeper. And, there's a growing need for it because people are destabilized and freaked out. And like I said, there'll be a time where people will have to have an internal connection to the divinity within them just to survive, because relying on we've lived in a time of abundance materially for so long, and we don't know how great it has been to be in material life, as we've don't have anything to contrast to it. Most of us grew up with a level of comforts and things that are not the norm in terms of human history, and a system that accelerated technological growth with a debt-based economic system. And so it's an odd global situation where travel and comforts and things that are haven't been around for thousands of years, like in terms of recent human history, the last 5,000 years or so, that people can trace out, where there's still, most of the history is 5,000 years old or less, and most of it's fairly recent because, Jesus was alive 2,000 years ago, and things have changed dramatically since then. Like that's our calendar. Like our calendar is, 2,025 years old. That's when, in terms of our history started, modern day history, and 2,000 years ago was a long time ago, and so in recent history, there was nothing like we have now in terms of our civilization. And so we haven't known for quite some time, human beings, what it was like to live. There's some people, living more primitively, but not in a farming type agrarian situation. There might be some lost civilization, aboriginal civilizations out there, tribal situation. But for the most part, that's been lost. And human beings don't know any other way than our modern day system, especially the ones that have been born the past 50 years or so, 60, 70 years or so. And so, really the past 100 years. And so this is it for us. Like, this is what we understand life to be. And as it collapses around us, there is, a need for help. Like, people are going to need help. And they're not going to get help from the system anymore, so they're going to need something else, which will be the divinity within them, and they're going to have to reestablish communities and families and things that have been decimated. And so this is not some reason to meditate, but it's a reason that everyone will have to at some point. And so it's just like, this is Pockets of the Future, getting ahead of the curve. But anyways, for more information on the gathering, go to the Gratefullness Meditation channel, which is always linked in every one of my videos in the description box. Okay, greetings, brothers and sisters. Today is Friday, April 25th still. I just completed this video. I'm uploading it here. Your Google Ads account isn't active. Your promotions aren't running because your Google Ads account has been canceled. And they've been posted that every day. And first I thought they were saying that they weren't running ads on my videos. Then I realized it was the ads I was paying for that they fucked me on, which I'll discuss in a little bit. So this is a video I'm uploading now. China trolls Trump, says he's fake news. This is the one from yesterday. There's a Journey Series 1 I haven't made public yet. I'll do that today for the members. And, here's why I scroll over here. I was describing this in this video up here at the end of it. Because I can't otherwise see. I can't see you see I can't see the view count. So I don't see the likes or dislikes, which now I can see those, which means, we compare these likes, 94% likes, 96, 97, 97, 98, 96, 100%. That's just the mom for the members. Some of these ones, the Journey series are just for members, but some of these other videos, higher likes, but the views, you can see that this has just been uploaded today. This is the last video. That's like dreadful from yesterday. Bad numbers here, right? And so I haven't been paying attention to this. Like I haven't noticed it. But it dipped into the threes. My videos were up to about 5 or 6 a day, which is still far less than I should get based in, whatever. Based on what I think the views should be. So, but they've slowly gone down again, and I don't know why that is. Maybe there's some percentage of my viewers are Trumpers, and, it's not a good time to say, well, I'm not going to change my opinion about Trump just for views. Like, that's silly. I'm going to go and I'll talk to the AI bot again, like I did before, and that seemed to change things. The money had been getting better to where I was almost close to $100 a day, which is the bare minimum that if I'm going to keep on doing this, it just has to be that $100 a day. It used to be far more than that. So, with the restrictions lifted by Trump, which is one of the good things that he did, not intentionally, or just people, the social media accounts going back to the way they used to do it because Biden isn't censoring them anymore until Trump brings in his own form of censorship eventually. Whatever, that shit because they've already showed how you can bully the social media companies. Presidents know how to do that, right? And so they're just whether they're going to do it or not. But either way, the numbers are the numbers. They're declining. My subscriptions are declining. The money's, gone down significantly. Even if YouTube is paying more now, I don't know if that's the case. Like I'm making a little bit more money this month and last month than I did in previous months compared to, previous months, even December, which was supposedly the best month of the year. It used to be because of Christmas and all that. And I haven't had to look at this stuff in a while. And unfortunately, I did look at the view count just randomly and saw that there was down. And so I don't know if YouTube isn't notifying people again. So everyone needs to, show that they want to watch the videos. Click the like button. It's the easiest thing to do. Leave a comment, even if it's just an emoji. Any number of things. Of course, there's a membership and other ways to support the channel. A lot of. I used to be saying this, and I just got tired of saying it. And, subscribing, resubscribing, hit the notification button, whatever it might be. I'm going to, eventually go and talk to YouTube bots. But, my content to me is getting better. I feel like I'm in a better place. I'm seeing things like at a deeper level and clearer, but that might be to the detriment of my viewership. So that is what it is too. I have to change and evolve as my opinion does. And so usually that means, where I used to make videos that were appeal to many different demographics and people, Illuminati Hollywood videos. I mean, there's lots of people that would watch that. And then when you get into politics, it's different. And then, when you're taking people's hope away from them, their hopium, that's another, it's just all that kind of stuff. So, I'll just repeat this story again, this Google ad thing. So I was doing everything I could to bring in new viewers. And YouTube used to recommend my videos to all kinds of people. Like I had a channel that was maybe not a priority, privileged channel, a top-rated channel, but it wasn't a bottom-rated channel. And they didn't have the bottom-rated channels this is back when they used to promote truther videos. And I think they're still censoring them to a large extent, even though a lot of the other social media platforms are doing that quite a bit less. Mark Zuckerberg went on Joe Rogan, said that he he didn't like what they did to him, and it's bad for their business. And so YouTube is less aggressive at some of their community guideline stuff and some of the other stuff they're doing, but they're not, they're not over it, and they're still recommending crappy, authoritative shit that nobody wants to watch, and bogus things, and they're still gaming their search engine results so that you search for something and they know what you want, but they give you something else. And the AI might be a little bit better at that, but it's the AI usually just tries to give you answers. Rather, I don't know if that you can use AI to do search engine results, and so I don't know how many people are doing that. And I haven't tried it yet myself, so that's neither here nor there. But anyways, I was figuring out strategies, and I thought I would run ads on other truther channels. And so I contacted Google Ads, and I said I wanted to run video, and there was some girl there, and we had a phone conversation, and she was trying to tell me to run ads on Google Search. And I'm like, I don't want to run ads on Google Search. That doesn't help me. People aren't searching for my kind of shit, so they don't use Google, whatever. I mean, it just wasn't good. I wanted video clips, a video ad that I could make. I made a 15-second ad to run in front of videos, and I wanted to run in front of, other like content. And so they completely failed on that. Like, I went back and forth to them. And so then I found out you could do YouTube ads. And that was, directly through YouTube. So I got rid of the Google thing that they're now saying they're canceling my thing. I'm like, yeah, I'm never going to do it again. You guys sucked. I was the customer, and you treated me like you knew more, and like you wouldn't do what I asked you to do, right? Well, this was the thing. So my wife made a good suggestion. She said, can you ask certain channels to run ads in certain channels, right? And I did that. And the guy said, yeah, you can do that. So I asked all of you, the viewers, what channels do you think I should run ads on? And plus, those would be, some channels get a higher rate than other channels in terms of the ad revenue because there's premium channels. And truthers aren't premium channels. So, I figured it'd be even cheaper, be better. And I could run ads on the channels where people, and I could also support other truthers. So, I mean, the whole thing was probably a positive thing. I mean, on every level. And so I asked, and you guys gave me like 50 different channels. Like I came up with about, 40 or 50 different channels. Some of them were demonetized, so it wouldn't work. But, just the ones I sent over about 40. And I had two different, like ad campaigns. And I put like 48 in one and like 46 in the other. And then I said, the channels they were running the ads on were horrible channels. Like, they were channels that were nothing like my channel. And, they weren't like truther related. The only channel I recognized was that guy, is it Ryan or whatever his name is? He did some conspiracy theory videos, but he's just like a complete liberal putz, right? And, none of these people would end up watching my channel from these channels. So it was a waste of my time and money. And I said to the guy, just run ads on these channels. But he said, we can't do that. They would take my suggestion. And I was like, I'm paying you guys, run fucking ads on these channels, right? This is my customer. This is what I want to, this is my ad campaign. These are the channels I want to advertise on. Make it fucking happen. Like this kind of bullshit. And he was like, no, whatever. So I'm like, well, this thing is worthless. So then I did the YouTube ad directly, but they failed in their same way because they don't have any categories like truthers or, any of these things like conspiracy theories. And even though people watch tons of this fucking content, they didn't have any categories for that, which shows you why we're fucked anyway, financially and otherwise, because they won't acknowledge one of the biggest genre of videos on their platform that helped build their platform. And that's why YouTube is, it sucks now, worse than it did. And, maybe it's gotten a little bit better since Biden is gone. But, the reality is that, it's all like, it's rigged against us as best they can. So, that's about it. And I'm not sure why my viewership is down, but that's not good, right? So, it's getting to the point where it's just going to dwindle to, basically nothing. So, 2000 is, when I used to get hundreds of thousands of videos. And I feel like my viewership should be growing, but it's shrinking, and, all the other stuff. And please don't give any suggestions because, I always get these bad suggestions of people who don't understand the issues. if you don't have a YouTube channel and you heard somebody else say this or that, it's not helpful. Like I've gone through every avenue and every way of enhancing my viewership. They game the system and rigged it against all of us so that, their search engine and the way they do all these types of, putting channels in, it's like, the way that you find other videos is that they recommend videos to. YouTube recommends videos in the sidebar and in the, on your phone. And, that's how channels get new viewers. And they're just not doing that for all of us, not just people in the truth community, but other people. And, they're like, they're killing themselves. And I mean, they're destroying their whole brand and everything in the process. Anyways, let's move on to the other stuff here. So unless something else pops, because I'm going to start this video today and then I'll finish it probably tomorrow. This is Hegseth anxious and concerned about his job. I don't know why. I'm not, right? Like I would be utterly shocked if Trump fires him. Maybe Trump would fire him maybe to throw him under the bus as a distraction, but not because of anything he did or didn't do. Trump's oblivious to this stuff, and there's no reason to fire him because there's no pressure from anybody but the media that he calls fake news, right?
Situation, telling NBC News that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has become, quote, erratic, and he seems increasingly insecure about his job.
I don't have time for leakers.
The Pentagon...
That's why I want to show you. I don't have time for leakers. That was great. Like, I didn't know he said this. I might have heard it and I didn't.
I don't have time for leakers.
Pete Hegseth, he don't have no time for no fucking leakers. And so, this is a Fox News interview. Let me go to that after I get through this one. He doesn't have any time for leakers. This guy, he's too busy for leakers. I mean, the rest of us, we got nothing but time for leakers and such, layabouts, time wasters, couch potatoes. But, he's too busy for leakers. He doesn't have any time for them.
The Pentagon senior staff also facing turmoil. Hegseth accusing the acting chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff of leaks and threatening to polygraph him, according to 3 U.S. officials familiar with the meeting. And after allegations that...
Apparently he ran it and went on a, F-bomb in some media and was threatening everybody with polygraphs.
Hegseth texted military information to a private signal group. Trump called it, quote, childish in a call to the defense secretary and indicated... So
the story is really... Will Trump not? How can Trump not fire him? And he won't. But how can he not? Like these are all the guy's unraveling. He's doing things he shouldn't have done. I covered this. He set up a private line to bypass the whole thing with these rooms this area in the Pentagon that's supposed to have no devices at all, so there can't be any way of spying on whatever they're saying, right? And so he bypassed it by having this special line put into his computer so he could put classified shit over signal. Like, it's such a dereliction of duty. And all these people that were pissed about Hillary Clinton and wanted her to go to jail, right? You'd be locked up. That's what Trump said. You'd be in jail if I was president. Remember, she said, we're lucky we don't have someone with Donald Trump's temperament in charge of the justice system. And he said, you'd be in jail. That was his best moment of those debates. And, lock her up. This is far more egregious. Like, she was careless with data, but she wasn't in the, wasn't in the Pentagon in areas where you weren't supposed to have a cell phone and set up a private line in there. I mean, that's, this is much worse than that. And yet, like, Trump doesn't care, and neither does a lot of his supporters, because he's still getting, favorable views, and no one's really calling for his head, because the people who would do that would be thrown out of the Trump kingdom, because you can't talk to this guy. He's got such thin skin and he's so oblivious to everything. I mean, he's very Joe Biden-esque at this point.
He wasn't pleased, according to 2 U.S. officials, but one said the president told the defense secretary to keep fighting.
NBC's Garrett Hake reporting for us there. Meanwhile, 2 sources tell the Wall Street Journal Defense Secretary Hegseth shouted at Admiral Christopher Grady after news broke about Elon Musk possibly attending a classified briefing on China. Hegseth reportedly threatened, as Garrett just mentioned, to hook Grady up to a polygraph, marking what the Journal calls a turning point in an already rocky tenure. Let's bring in one of the reporters.
Yeah, that's what I was alluding to because I saw that somewhere else. What I meant by him being Biden-esque, he's cutting himself off from reality, right? Where he doesn't know what the fuck's going on. So that guy, whatever his name is, Johnson, is it Mike Johnson, whatever it is, the guy who was in charge of the Republican guy in charge of the House of Representatives. When the Republicans took the House, he wanted to meet with Biden. He tells his story. He couldn't meet with Biden forever, and they finally let him meet with him. But Kamala Harris and Chuck Schumer and all these other people were in the room, and he knew they were trying to pressure him on something. But he asked to speak to Biden alone, and there was some issue that Mike Johnson guy was saying was I don't even know if that's his last name, but I think I got the Johnson right, but the Mike probably Mike's a little sketchy. Whatever his first name is, he asked Biden why he was doing something that was going to hurt his district, and Biden said, "No, that's not that bill. I signed a bill that said something else, or that bill said something else." And he said, "No, you can read it." And so Biden was signing things he didn't know what they were, like he had no idea, and his handlers were just telling him, yeah, Pete Hegseth's doing a great job. That's Biden-esque, where you're detached from reality. And, where Biden didn't even know what was going on. He didn't know how bad the polls were. He didn't know how bad the reaction was to his debate performance. And he didn't even realize how bad his debate performance was. And they weren't willing to tell him. So the people around him aren't, he's insulated and isolated. And so, this is what happens. And Trump is in that area where his handlers and people around him are just, they're not giving him the bad news. Like, he's taking meetings with some of these big corporate executives, and he starts getting some feedback, like when they went in there and told him, your tariffs are fucking us, like Walmart CEO and Target CEO and these guys saying, well, you're going to destroy the economy. People are going to go fucking apeshit, right? And everything's going to go up and it's going to be bad. And then all of a sudden Trump realizes, but he's not doing research himself, and he's not surrounding himself with other people with different opinions. And they're not telling him, they're not giving him the full story. And he's just watching Fox News all day. And so they're not saying him, so he just believes that that's legitimate news, and they're kind of being supportive of him and this, so it's really fucked.
On that piece, Wall Street Journal national security reporter Alex Ward. Alex, good morning. Good to have you back on the show. We were talking to your colleague Nancy a little bit earlier in the show about this extraordinary piece with some very rich details. What jumped out at you as you reported out this story?
I think the main thing was just how truly, anxious and concerned Hegseth is for the future of his job, as much as President Trump and the team around him.
He's only in this less than 100 fucking days, bro. How do you fuck up that much in that short period of time?
Says Hegseth is safe, that they trust him. That may all well be true, but Hegseth seems to believe that he needs to basically fight, not only in the public domain, but within his own Pentagon in order to stay in charge, and that includes...
Yeah, that's accurate, because Trump can turn on you at any moment. All right, so let me see if they have that Fox interview where he said he doesn't have time for leakers. So they don't have this up on YouTube, so we have to watch it on Fox.
So, Brian, if you remember when this all started, the first go-around, because this is the second go-around, right? They peddle old stuff, they kick it back up. I said repeatedly... It's
not the second go-around. This is... Okay, so that's a fucking lie, right? See, if you want to be, this different kind of group of people, the Trumpers, and you're going to be, truth-related, you would say, well, they didn't kick it back around. Nobody... had this information when this went around the first time. And someone in your inner circle leaked it because you fired people for leaks and you didn't have any proof that who the leaker was. We're all four of the people leaking that you fired, right? Three of them were your buddies from the past that you brought in. You didn't even know who's leaking. You're trying to give people fucking, again, this is the official story, the whole, whatever, this is the show. But in the show, you fucked up the first time because some other guy gave access to your signal group to an anti-Trump liberal reporter. This time around, it's on you, and now it's turned out you have signal on your computer in a secured area to bypass some security system that was put in by people long before you were ever in the military, or in the National Guard, right?
No one's texting war plans. You know why I said that? Because I'm in the bowels of the Pentagon every single day. Just 10 minutes ago.
You're in the bowels of the Pentagon? Well, that means the Pentagon's going to shit you out pretty soon.
I was looking at actual war plans of things that were ongoing or pending things to happen. Because that's on a regular basis, on classified
Let me tell you about them, too. let me tell you what I was looking at.
systems. That's my job for the war fighters, for the President of the United States. I look at war plans every single day. What was shared over Signal, then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning. At the beginning, it was left-wing reporters from The Atlantic who got a hold of it and then wanted to...
No, one of your guys put him in the chat mistakenly, or he's a Mossad agent, which people theorize. And so you thought he was on your side and he fucked you. But either way, it wasn't he just got hold of him. You put him in the group, right?
to create a problem for the president. This is what it's all about, trying to get at President Trump and his agenda. Now, here at the Defense Department, because Brian...
No, you're doing that, right? You're fucking over his agenda by doing stupid shit. Because, yeah, they want to get you, but you're getting yourself, right? You shouldn't have done this with Signal. You did it, and then you pissed everyone off that you work with, and people are leaking shit for whatever reason, right? And so, like, this is you fucking up, and you undermine the guy that you think is wonderful, or whatever your position is on Trump, your real position. You're the one who's fucking them, right? They're not, you're giving them the ammunition. Like, this is their job to go after them. They're on the other side. You included someone from the other side in your chat group that you gave out classified information. Like, it's just so stupid. Like, even now.
Brian, I want this to be very clear. We take the classification of information very important.
It's very important. You take it very important. Like you're not even good at your speaking gig. Are you drinking? Are you drunk, bro?
Very significant to us that we safeguard it. And so when we had leaks, which we have had here, we did a serious leak investigation. And through that leak investigation, unfortunately, we found some folks that we believe were not holding to the protocols.
You believe they were, so you don't even know. So this is how incompetent this fucking motherfucker is, right? He's 100 days in, and he's had this disastrous fucking mishandling of classified war plans, no matter what the fuck he says. Like, that's just using bullshit, language. Because he says everyone's paranoid, he's paranoid, and everyone's out to get him. But then he says we've had leakers that we believe. He has no idea. We'll go back and watch that part again. He has no idea if they actually leaked. He doesn't have proof they leaked. But they're disgruntled people, and they're going at each other. And there's, like, chaos within his agency. And these were guys he brought in that are 100% aboard with Trump's agenda. They're not anti-Trump people. But these guys can't even fucking get along well enough not to fuck up Trump's first 100 days. Trump's doing a good enough job on his own with the fucking bullshit things he's doing, right? And so, but like, it's like a fucking mess. And he's saying that you don't fire people because you believe they were leakers. I mean, your people are pissing you off or they're not doing their job great, and you go like, these guys must be the leakers. But they're all denying they're leakers, and there's no proof that they leaked anything. And you guys you don't even know who's leaking. Like, you're not able, I mean, this is like a fucking, the Defense Department, your Pentagon is a sieve. Like, all kinds of fucking shit's flowing out of this thing. You've got no control over it. It's not secure. You don't have any, it's nothing secure in what you're doing. And then you're saying this whole thing, let's go back to that because this is where he's going to...
We hold dear here at the Defense Department. Very important. It's very significant to us that we safeguard it. And so when we had leaks, which we have had here, we did a serious leak investigation. And through that leak investigation, unfortunately, we found some folks that we believe were not holding to the protocols that we hold dear here at the Defense Department. Through that investigation...
Wait, are those protocols fucking setting up a line to bypass the security, the integrity of your area where there's supposed to be no devices connected to the internet, and then setting a line up so you can use this third-party app to put out classified information? So what possibly could they have done other than fuck you and tell everybody how incompetent you are, right?
They have been moved on, and that investigation continues. As a result of that, everything we do here is above board, trying to make sure that we safeguard information. In this point, those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda and what we're doing. And that's unfortunate. It's not what I do. It's not how we operate. And so you've got another allegation.
It's not what I do. I don't do things like that. I don't do, you hired these motherfuckers. You're already having to fire people. These leakers. Right? It's not who we are.
Being pushed again, not based on how we're operating around here. We're for the warfighters, we're for the president, and none of this is based in reality.
So, Mr. Secretary,
None of this is based in reality. That was the most true thing we've ever heard. None of this is based in reality. You're right. None of it is based in reality.
I guess I can conclude this. We know some bizarre situation with Michael Waltz happened with the first time the whole thing with the Signal app came out. You believe this came out, they said it was called Team Huddle, because one of the people who work for you, one of the three who no longer are there, leaked this out?
You should be fired for saying Team Huddle, right? For making a name called Team Huddle. Let's call this thing Team Huddle, guys. What do you think? Let's huddle up on Signal together and call it Team Huddle, right? Like this fucking, what are you, 12?
As a way to get back at you?
That's right, Brian.
That's right, Brian. That's right. That's right.
When you dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information, and again,
Who you believe you're leaking. You don't have proof.
the investigation is ongoing and that will take time, and when the evidence produced, it will go to DOJ. Why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think?
Yeah, you know, Brian. You know what I'm saying, right, Brian? Brian, you get it, right, Brian?
They can have
They
to
can
try to
have.
sabotage the agenda of the
Agenda.
president or the secretary. So once a leaker, always a leaker.
Always a leaker.
Often a leaker.
Often
and so
a leaker.
we looked for leakers because we take it very seriously.
We look for
and
leakers.
We'll do the investigation. And if
There's
those
leakers everywhere. Are you a leaker, Brian? I think you might be a leaker. There's leakers everywhere around me, Brian.
people are exonerated, fantastic.
Fantastic. But too bad we fired them and ruined their reputation because we kept on telling them they were leakers. If they get exonerated, we'll try to put their heads back on after we behead them, Brian.
We don't think, based on what we understand, that it's going to be a good day for a number of those individuals because of what was found in the investigation. So if they want to keep leaking and pushing and peddling things that try to sabotage the president's agenda, that's unfortunate.
That's unfortunate if the leakers want to leak, but they're always leakers. Once a leaker, always a leaker. Right, Brian? You get it?
But that's how leaking works in this town.
There's lots of leaks. Don't they have any fucking plumbers in D.C.?
We're focused on recruiting, on rooting out DEI, on securing our southwest border, on the president's agenda, and it's going very well at the Pentagon, and I'm proud of it.
Right. So the Signal app is what everyone uses. We're all finding that out now because of the Chinese have infected and sabotaged, gotten involved in almost every other communications apparatus over the last 4 years. So that's where you're communicating. You say it took place, but there was no classified material in it. Over the last few days, your senior advisor, Dan Caldwell, Darren Selnick, Colin Carroll, who is your chief of staff, deputy secretary of defense. The other one, Darren, is now former deputy chief of staff, were let go. Did you let them go?
Right. It was a result of an investigation ongoing at the Pentagon.
Ongoing. We don't have any information, Brian.
Where we identified there was sufficient evidence, potentially, again, there's an investigation ongoing that will have to complete itself, sufficient evidence to believe that they or others near them were party to leaking. And then I have a statutory responsibility, Brian.
A statutory responsibility. Brian, you know about statutory, right, Brian?
I believe that's the case, to ultimately ensure they no longer have access to that and that the investigation commences. There are a lot of ways to communicate in this building. I do it every day. I was just doing it this morning.
I communicate in this building all the time. Sometimes I bypass the security system so I can do it with an unsecured line.
Official channels by which we communicate classified information. If you want to do it and do it the right way, you should. If we think you are leaking to the press, that's a very real problem. We take that very seriously.
Very seriously, Brian. Brian, fucking seriously, Brian.
At the Pentagon, I'm here to do one job.
What is it? Is it to fuck up the president's agenda?
One job for the president and the American people. Secure the country. America first. Peace through strength. I don't have time for leakers.
That's it right there.
I don't have time for want to do it and do it the right way. You should. If we think you are leaking to the press, That's a very real problem. We take that very seriously at the Pentagon. I'm here to do one job. One job for the president and the American people. Secure the country. America first, peace through strength. I don't have time for leakers. I don't have time for the hoax press that peddles old stories from disgruntled employees. We should be talking about the decimation of the Houthis, how we're pushing back the Chinese, how we have a new defense area at the southern border.
Okay, so this guy is fucking desperate. I mean, holy shit. Like, he's a mess. This is a desperate motherfucker. I mean, not just in terms of his, he can't handle pressure. Like, he's fucked up and he's just babbling. I mean, this is a friendly interview. He won't even go on these other networks. Like, he's just, he's going to Fox and Fox alone. And he's babbling. He's like all over the fucking place. He sounds guilty as fuck because he is, right? And he's firing people who are close to him, people he brought in without sufficient evidence, thinking that they or people around them might have been leaking or whatever. But he's putting all this shit out on Signal. And the only thing they leaked was that he's doing stupid shit, right? Like, he's a fucking mess. They're ratting him out. They're not ratting the country out. They're not giving out classified information. They're saying this guy's mishandling classified information. I mean, whoever's leaking that, and and he's totally fucking triggered. And if he's this triggered over something like this, and what happens when we're fucking in war, right? This guy's not qualified emotionally for this job. Of course, I said that when I said, these people who are cheaters, right? There's this thing with Shannon Sharp, and Shannon Sharp has a second accusation now that he forced himself on one of his other former girlfriends. And, I mean, these things, when there's lots of money involved and shakedowns and whatever it is, I mean, all this stuff is, if you're not there, it's he said, she said. But we do know that his girlfriend was an 18-year-old fans only or only fans model, whatever they call that thing. These private sites where people pay to watch, like, Instagram people strip, whatever it is, right? I don't know what, it's fans only. And she's 18, right? And she's barely legal. And that's a fucking bad decision. And Shannon Sharp is an asshole, like, going after people for bad decisions. He's constantly basically saying people are stupid athletes, young athletes. It makes a lot more sense for a young guy to do this, but he's in his 50s. Like, he's 56. He's, almost my age. And he's out there doing stupid shit like that, right? And, regardless of whether this is a shakedown or not, or this guy who's cheating on his wife, these are self-sabotaging behaviors, right? When you do things like this, and they're behaviors of a desperate person, like people who are, they need something, like they're empty inside. They need something to fill it. These are vampires and ghouls, and these people who are dead inside. And they need to be fed by shit, whatever it is, materiality. Trump and all these people, they need to be fed by, some external source, and because they don't have anything inside of them, right? They're not, self-sufficient. Where there's some. I mean, this is where you connected to the divinity within you, and you have, people have the need to be loved and feel love and these things, and there's the ultimate love is God's love. But when you're desperate, you don't have that in yourself. There's no love in yourself to give to other people, because you're a narcissistic, piece of shit, because you've gone down a dark and materialistic path, and you're lonely and you're disconnected, and you don't trust anybody, you're negative, all this stuff, and you're desperately looking for something out there. You're listening. You have this hole inside of you, and you're looking to fill it. And this guy, is looking to fill that void inside of him with women and alcohol and all this stuff. And Fox News, I mean, he had a good job. He was a famous person. He was making lots of money, and that still wasn't enough. He's an addict, and now he's fucking everything up at the Pentagon. Of course he is. He has no fucking character qualities. You can just look at the way he presents himself. Brian, yeah, listen, Brian. He's trying to talk his way out of some bullshit he's done. Like, when his second wife, who accused him of abuse, he's got to explain to her, and his new wife, who was his producer, his new girlfriend, who she's pregnant with his baby, and they got to explain why a third woman in some hotel somewhere accused him of sexual assault. Come on, you guys, this is bullshit, right? It's bullshit. Fucking, these are desperate people. And they're in charge of shit, like fucking important shit, like World War III. Like, you don't want this guy running your fucking defense department. You don't want this guy even in your military. You wouldn't want to follow this guy as a leader into battle. This weak motherfucker, right? Like this, I mean, he's a fucking mess. Okay, one more thing on Hegseth here.
We are learning more about the person who started out with Hegseth as a workout buddy and is now a very key member of his rapidly shrinking inner circle.
Workout buddy. Like, that's just so shitty on him. I mean, if that actually is true, it's fucked up. But it's like, you know.
Brian Todd is out front.
Good morning. How's life? Good, sir.
In a line to greet NATO's Secretary General today, a man who's made a rapid rise to become a critical figure in Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth's shrinking inner circle. He's Colonel Ricky Berea, a Marine with several combat deployments, who served as a junior military assistant to Hegseth. CNN's sources say in a few short months, Ricky Berea has become one of Hegseth's most trusted advisors, as the secretary has grown more paranoid about leaks. One defense official says,
you know, you shouldn't be paranoid about leaks. Like, the leaks that are coming out aren't people who are trying to sabotage America or even sabotage Trump because they're Trumpers. They're MAGA guys. They're just disgusted with the way Pete Hegseth is running. Like, the leaks are about his incompetence. So he's paranoid that people will find out he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. And it should have been enough already to fire him. I don't think Trump's going to fire him because Trump just doesn't give a fuck about these things. And, you know, Trump can always throw this guy under the bus if he needs to later on. Like, Trump doesn't have a problem firing people. Although, you know, he talked about how Joe Biden never fired anybody. You know, he had to fire a lot of people, but they're all people that talk shit to him. They're all people that disagreed with him. And Trump got rid of the people who weren't Trumpers. But Trump can't fire Trumpers. I mean, unless it's just, you know, like it's him or them. But, you know, Pete Hegseth has taken some of the heat off of Trump's other stupid decisions. So, you know, I mean, there's no reason for him to fire him. And as much as he says he's a big firer, you know, according to The Apprentice, he's just not really that guy. But anyways, this guy is a fucking mo, right? He's just so bad, Hegseth. I mean, both of them, but Hegseth.
Hegseth likes Berea's yes sir attitude. Multiple sources tell CNN Berea has access to Hegseth's personal and government phones. He's been seen working out with Hegseth in photos posted on X, appears in a photo laughing with Elon Musk when Musk visited the Pentagon. And he's even sat in on meetings with foreign leaders.
There he is, right there, the guy with the circle around his head.
When he worked for Defense Secretary...
They're always circling this guy.
Secretary Lloyd Austin during the Biden administration, a former senior Pentagon official says Berea was essentially a body man for Austin, often seen carrying his bags.
He's a body man.
Now, CNN sources say, as Berea puts in for his retirement, Hegseth is considering appointing him his chief of staff.
One distinct problem would be the fact that as a retired colonel, he would be, in effect, outranked by all of the admirals and generals in the Pentagon. And it would make it very difficult for him to undertake the responsibilities of that position.
Multiple sources tell CNN that weeks before The Atlantic reported that Hegseth used Signal to discuss detailed military plans, Berea pushed to get Hegseth an extra desktop computer in his office with Signal on it, so Hegseth could text friends and family. Those sources
So that's the guy. They're already fingering him he's a fall guy.
Tell CNN that after the Atlantic story broke, Berea asked the Defense Department's chief information officer if Hegseth could be granted an exception to use Signal more freely at work, a request that raised eyebrows among senior officials.
Jesus Christ.
It's also surprised a former Trump administration official.
Asking for the authorization was crazy. I mean, why would you put a insecure commercial app that can be hacked by a foreign signals intelligence service on any communications device related to the Secretary of Defense, especially when he has the most robust communication staff of anybody in the government?
Yeah, you would. You would. So, you know, this thing is just, I mean, he should be fired, but Trump won't fire him, and it's just going to go that way. You know, it's a little bit funny. I mean, it's pretty funny. Pete Hegseth is just, come on, guys. Come on, guys. Come on. These guys are trying to sabotage me. They're out to get me. He's like fucking little binky. You know, I just want to say this. These institutions are dysfunctional, and they have their own lingo, and they have their own, you know, there's a sense of, even if they don't like each other, you know, it's a club, right? Like, they might hate each other politically, or they might have all these things, and, you know, insular fighting and jealousies and all these things, right? But, and I'm talking about any institution, not just governmental things, but religious. But what they hate more is outsiders. You know, many feel like they've had to pay their dues to get power inside their little organization. So there's all the military people, right? And you got the West Point guys and the guys who are officers, and they come from families, like when they put the royal family in the military, and those people are already, not liked by the average, what my brother would call grunt, what he was, like a enlisted man or a guy, somebody who was drafted or something, the lower ranked military people. But then you have the Pentagon and all of that. It's like the firm in England, and you have to work your way up it, like any organization. It's like the people working their way up to be, a priest, into a bishop, into a cardinal, into until the Pope, right? There's a hierarchical, pathway, and they don't like it when you bring in an outsider who doesn't understand their bullshit, right? Somebody who's a commenter who's been criticizing you on Fox News. It's somebody like a Pete Hegseth, right? The military is one of the most closed, it's totally a club. It's like it's like a fraternity. And so they brought this guy in, and even if he was brilliant, he'd have to go about it in a much subtler way. He'd have to win people over and gain their trust and show them that he's one of them or whatever it is. But he came in like like the worst way that you come in as a person. When this clown Dodgy took over for Chargy, the third master of the Sajmark system, the meditation that I do. And Chargy appointed him. Like, he appointed somebody else first, and that guy quit. He got threatened, and there was a whole bunch of bullshit that went down. That guy turned out, I don't think that guy would have been good either. But he then nominated Kamlesh, this guy Kamlesh Patel, who, Kamlesh was a successful pharmacist, and he had money to, to travel and be around Chargy. He spent a lot of time in India, and he seemed to be well versed in the knowledge of the Sajmark system, and seemed to be like a good choice. Like, I knew the guy beforehand, and I had some positive experiences with him that led me to believe he'd make a good successor to Chargy, right? And, he immediately came in one of his first talks. He came back to America because he had pharmacies in New York City. And he said that Chargy was a master of concealment, which is a fucked up thing to say, right? And he immediately started to throw Chargy under the bus more and more. And his only, real validation for his position was that Chargy said he's the successor. And now he's shitting all over the one guy that can kind of vouch for him. Chargy was now dead. And so he then, started to push back on lots of the old rules and change things and change some of the literature and just all this kind of shit, right? And my wife said, if you're going into a new organization and you have a beloved boss, then you embrace that guy, right? You want to, say how much you respect that person, how you could never, you humble yourself in front of him. And even more so for a spiritual master. Because, that's what you would do, right? Like, that's how you would win people over. You wouldn't come into, a situation where somebody they love just died and you start talking shit about them. And so, there's just this stupidity when you're an outsider and how you go about winning people over. And Pete Hegseth just hasn't done that. Like, he's a fucking fraud and a failure before he even got into this position. An alcoholic, a desperate person. He needs this. He has this hole inside of him. He needs to be filled, right? And so instead of going in there and, winning these people over, he came in like he knows more than them as an outsider, and he's got Trump's, backing, and then he just, has sabotaged any chance of these people looking at him as a valid leader, and they're all going to undermine him because they want him the fuck out of there. And when you're in a military situation where you're making decisions, not only handing classified information, but putting soldiers and innocent civilians in the line of fire. How many innocent people you think they've bombed in the Houthis in Yemen, these places, right? And so, when you start talking about people's lives and ruining their lives and putting your military personnel in jeopardy, this is the kind of dumb shit thing people who think they know too much and are arrogant and lack humility will do. And that's what he is. Like, he is that guy. And so this is how, that's going to play out because he's that kind of dude. So Forbes recommended this. Like, he's got some kind of, he put a makeup studio in the Pentagon, which is really, effeminate. And he's got these highlights or great, whatever he's got going on there.
We're back with more reforms here at DOD. And this one is one of the most important ones we've done.
It is, you guys. It's not as important as Operation Team Huddle.
Official title is Restoring Good Order and Discipline Through Balanced Accountability. Little word,
Okay, what does that mean?
but over the target. The real title that I call it, the No More Walking on Eggshells
Kaboom. He ain't walking on eggshells no more, motherfuckers.
policy. You see, too often at the Defense Department, there are complaints made for certain reasons that can't be verified that end people's career, either through...
You know, like when you find out, you think that somebody's leaking, but they didn't, so you fire them, and then then you destroy their reputations by saying they're leakers, and you whine about them being leakers, like that kind of thing. You mean that's what you're talking about? So you're gonna fucking reprimand yourself for being a little bitch on that thing, because these people who were your friends and people you appointed realize you're a piece of shit, doesn't know his job, so they started talking to the press, or maybe they didn't. Who knows? Somebody did, and you freaked out and you started firing people without having justification for doing so. Like, you mean that shit?
EO or the IG, we need to reform that process completely so commanders can be commanders. Let me explain it a little bit more.
Please do, Pete. You're doing a great job. But do more explanation.
So the DoD has equal opportunity programs for service members and civilians to report discrimination and harassment. That's a good thing.
Good thing. Great thing, that thing. But let's get rid of it.
But what's not good is when these programs are weaponized. Some individuals use these programs in bad faith to retaliate against superiors or peers. I hear it all
the time. Fuck those guys.
All the time. Say you receive a bad evaluation, well, file a military EO complaint. It's nonsense, and we want to fix that. That's why today I'm signing a memo entitled, as I said, Restoring Good Order and Discipline Through Balanced Accountability. It directs a comprehensive review of equal opportunity programs to ensure prompt and impartial investigations, prompt and impartial.
So fuck those guys. They're done. Stop getting complaints because we're going to beat the shit out of you. If you do, that's what it means. We're going to code red you.
Fair treatment to all parties involved and timely and appropriate resolution of allegations of discrimination.
Allegations? What about those allegations? What is this allegations that you speak of?
Timely and appropriate resolution of allegations of discrimination. So here's the goal.
Discrimination?
Empower leaders to make tough decisions, enforce standards, and restore good order and discipline.
Boom.
Otherwise known as no more walking on eggshells. This is an important one. Proud to sign it.
Boom. Sign it there, bro. Sign it there with that $300 fucking hairdo you got going. Do it, Pete. You got it, BD. This is Walsh's daughter. Is it Hope? Hope or girl, little squirrel? Hope or girl, little pearl? Something like that. Her mom remembers you that weird rhyme. Hope or girl, something. Hope or girl, your mom's crazy as fuck. That doesn't rhyme though. So I looked through Barron Trump's Twitter. And he's a bit of a right-wing truther. He has some stuff there. I'll go through it after this. And so he's probably the best of the Trump sons, but I mean, sure, that's not saying much. But he had this. So he's shitting on the kid of the vice presidential candidate rival, Walz's kid, right? So this is where the kids are like, he's talking shit about this kid because she said this here.
If Jesus were alive today and in the United States, this administration would have already taken him and removed him from this country without due process, claimed he was a member of the MS-13 gang as a way to try to justify not giving him due process.
Like, just stupid shit, right? Because anybody could be Jesus. Like, reincarnation is real. And they could have already... I'm sure they deported Jesus. I'm sure they deported multiple Jesuses. But it's just silly, right? Like if Jesus was in America today, he would be deported.
As if there is any justifiable reason to not giving somebody due process.
Which, yeah, that's a reasonable point, but you didn't have to bring up the Jesus point. Of course, you're a college kid, so like college kids say stupid shit.
But yeah, some people don't want to talk about that.
Who are those people?
It truly is baffling how clear and laid out everything is, and there is still people standing by it. I believe in the good of people and like humanity, humans, deep down at our core, like
We're just great people. We just don't show it. We're pieces of shit on the surface, but deep down in our core, we're actually good people.
we care about each other. But that's really being tested because how anyone is okay with this is terrifying to me. But yeah, if you look like me, speak up, speak out, because we might be the only
You mean white?
ones safe from what's coming and some of the only people that are able to stop it.
Okay, how are you going to stop it? By speaking out and saying stupid shit like they deport Jesus if he was alive today? Like, it's just stupid shit. Like, how is this going to affect anything? Trump isn't listening to the mainstream media, people in the Pentagon, even Elon Musk to some extent. And, he's not listening to people. Wall Street, he's not even listening to Wall Street. Thinks he gives a shit what some college kid says, especially some of the rival opponent. Like, how do you think this is going to affect change? Getting on Instagram and saying some stupid shit. That, like you're powerless. Like this is, it's the same thing when we had Joe Biden and he was censoring all of us. Protests don't work. And it's whoever has the ability to force things. And right now it's Trump and his people. And later I'll be you if you're, someone in your party, maybe AOC.
So yeah, it's our duty at this point.
Yeah. So there's that. Okay, so here is Barron J. Trump. There he is up there. There's that woman who got robbed. And, she wears a lot of military shit, but when push came to shove, she gave up her purse and her IDs and all that shit. I follow back all patriots. Tap the bell and notify to assume you're getting breaking news daily. No affiliation. It's a media and news company. Joined April 2024. In the left's twisted heaven, Jesus drinks, the Pope laughs, and sin's just a joke. No commandments, no judgment, just endless partying and pride. If even God's mocked for likes, what's left to believe in? This is what he's talking about. Apparently he's really into Jesus. This is not the left. This obviously he's Spanish, and this is some Spanish thing. So these aren't liberals. These are people in this country. So, he's making it sound like liberals made this. It's clearly not liberals. It's Spanish people. The Pope was Hispanic. Bill Gates involved in hurricanes? Of course he bloody well is. When you hear the name Bill Gates, you might think Microsoft's founder, but not the billionaire. But now the billionaire may be known as a hurricane tamer. If you can stop them, they can make them. It's Barron Trump saying he's weather modifying. So he's got some conspiracy theory truther stuff going on here. Starting today, I'm launching a campaign on how to defend our nation's moral compass and spotlight the true values everyday Americans hold dear. I'll be digging into the Democratic Party's darkest secrets and revealing their agenda exclusively on my subscription feed. You just got to join. He's monetized his thing here. If you subscribe to this thing, right, you have to pay $5. What is it? How much is it? $5 a month. And if you do that, he's going to dive into the Democrats' deepest secrets, and you're going to get exclusive fucking content from him. Tim Walsh's daughter claims Trump's administration would have deported Jesus, equating him to MS-13 killer, Kilmar Abrigo Garcia, killer. He didn't kill anybody. He's not convicted of murder or anything else. Is she completely deranged, twisted in the head, like her father? ? And so there's plenty of comments, I'm sure, saying she is. He tries to engage his audience. They say he's at peace, but look closer. Why do his hands seem unnaturally elevated in the Vatican? There are no accidents, only calculated gestures. So he's now claiming, his dad does all those Aleister Crowley postures, hand poses, and yet he's now creating hand signals and shit. And so all these things. Straight answer, do you think that Pope Francis was evil? That's what they recommended to me. Joe Rogan boasts uncomfortable laughter when Alex Jones is questioned on the stand during the trial. This is epic. So I guess this is here.
Well, you mean like what Jeffrey Epstein did with the Clintons? Sure, that's a yes. Yeah.
So yeah, that's not epic. This piece of shit shill being laughed at by that shill, right? Wrap your head around this. Charles Manson literally cared more about foreign trade agreements than the entire Democratic Party does. Yeah, he's backing his dad's bullshit trade things. This is the final farewell. Pope Francis passed away this morning. Just yesterday, I watched him say, Bona Pasquia. Nailed it. I didn't realize it would be the last time I see him. Didn't realize I was witnessing a goodbye. Thank you, Papa Francisco, for everything. So apparently he doesn't think he's evil. That was the question he asked later on. Letitia James fraud exposed by Brooklyn neighbor and documents Project Veritas investigates her home. No one is above the law. What about your dad? President Trump's terror strategy is working and the Democrats are panicking. While the left laughed, President Donald J. Trump was playing the long game, and now the results are undeniable. 150 European countries are stepping up to negotiate. Japan, Europe, India, Vietnam, all seeking deals on President Trump's terms. He's paused the tariffs for 90 days, and what's happening? Stability returned. The market calmed. America gained leverage. Now imagine this. President Trump locks into 0-by-0 tariffs for our allies. The U.S., Europe, Japan, Vietnam, and others say China go 0 for 0 or face $145,000, 145% tariffs. China will fold. President Trump just reshaped the whole global economy. Yeah, your dad's just about to get fucking bitch slapped, bro. He's going to get bitch slapped. And you're going to fucking have to eat shit. The angel said to the woman, do not be afraid, for I know that you are looking for Jesus who was crucified. He is not here. He has risen, just as he said. Come and see the place where he lay. Then go quickly and tell the disciples he has risen from the dead and is going ahead of you to Galilee. They will see him soon. Now I have told you. Rejoice today. The Lord defeated the grave and rose up on the third day. Let this Easter be a reminder of that sacrifice. Have a wonderful and blessed Resurrection Sunday. So he really buys into this bullshit, right? He didn't defeat death. I mean, that's just, whatever. I mean, if the story was true, where is he? If he defeated death, he'd be alive forever. Do you support President Trump cutting foreign aid by 75%? I bet his followers do. I've been invited to the College Republican of America to join their efforts to reshape the Republican Party. While I respect the gesture, let's be honest, taking down the rhinos as our party is not a child's play. It takes real courage, vision, and most importantly, determination and resolve. Here is my official response. I'm not going to read it. All right, he's just getting boring. You were there for a little bit. You had a little bit of stuff going on there. But he has 327,000 followers. Baron J. Trump, he's become an internet celebrity. Okay, so I'm scrolling through the comments, and there was a couple ones I want to point out. Somebody said metrosexual. That was the word you were searching for. The video liberal media gets to gloat because Trump is a buffoon. I don't remember, but that is the word I was looking for. Metrosexual. Comment, I almost forgot a new word was invented to describe it. And what a weird word. Like you're... just that whole thing. Then somebody wrote this to that same video. Jimmy Dore exposed that 2 Germans tourists who didn't have their whole stay planned were deported from Hawaii. They were strip searched and had to spend the night in prison-like conditions. And I just wanted to say, he's shitting on Trump here a little bit, Jimmy Dore. People were sending me Jimmy Dore clips, and, he seemed all right. Like, he was a comedian, and, he's Republican-based, and he has that guy, Kirk, They call him Kerp on, he used to be with Kyle Doonigan. And so, I showed a clip of Jimmy Dore, and I thought it was something good he was saying. But somebody sent me this thing where he was promoting Trump's assassination. And now he's, slamming Trump on the immigration thing. And he's the kind of guy who, should know better than just come out. I mean, again, he's a kind of a right-leaning guy, and he's not like an old-school truther. But, these people all have to come correct, right? And admit that based on everything you're seeing now, and based in how Trump has done nothing about the alleged assassination attempts, and based in like all the shit that Trump's doing, there's no real attempt on his life now, right? Unless they want to drag that back up to get more, this martial law shit. I mean, that's, the next step for them. And Trump is like a disaster. He's a fucking disaster across the board. He's incompetent boob who's, arrogant and grifter. Just a bad combination of shit. And, like it's just there for everybody. And nobody tried to kill him, and that thing was fake as fuck. And you missed it. Like it's okay to miss it, but then, it's something you have to kind of address if you're, just claiming to be any kind of a truth teller. Because that was fucked up. All these people supported it, right? So this is Jimmy Dore from 9 months ago. The Trump assassination attempt was rocked the nation, leaving many bewildered on how Secret Service could have possibly allowed a shooter such ready access to a location where a clear shot at the presumptive Republican nominee during a rally. Not only that, but witnesses apparently spotted the shooter was shooter well before he fired on Trump, but nothing was done to prevent the attempt from taking place. So I don't know what the guy feels about it now, right? Because I couldn't find anything else. But this is a guy who, many people had said they listened to this guy. It was one of the people that I sent to YouTube to advertise on because many of my viewers said this was a truther they listened to. But, this is a huge swing and a miss. And, again, I don't know how, some people are less deep into the truther type of stuff, right? I don't know how much this guy calls bullshit on, other type things. But this was clearly fake, the Trump thing. But everything he's going to say in this video, this is from July 14th, 2024. So I don't know. And this got 300,000 views. This guy's got a big following. And, like the kind of failure that you exhibited here in your ability to analyze something. And this is just a big swing and a miss, right? Because he was a pro-Trump guy. I mean, he might have been not 100% pro-Trump, but he was pro-Trump enough.
I mean, crazy or suspicious or telling. Even worse, that there were people who saw this guy do that. Regular people, multiple regular people, not just one. And they were trying to signal the police. And here's one of those guys right here. Here's one.
So this is him saying that all these people let this guy get on a rooftop 100 feet from the president. It was a massive failure. If this was a real thing, it would have been a massive failure of Secret Service. But Trump came out and praised the Secret Service. Why was that? Because they were in on it. He couldn't shit all over them because they could rat him out and say, hey, what the fuck are you talking about? We weren't involved in this. You've tried to fake something. We went along with it because we were ordered to do so. This was a staged thing, right? So Trump hasn't done anything to fix the Secret Service. And all the governmental things that he's destroying, like this was one of the biggest fuck-ups on every level. The way I went through it, there's things I didn't see that other people, everyone went through this and said how bad the Secret Service fucked up. Biden fired the head of the Secret Service, and and they said they were going to do widespread changes, but Trump did nothing but praise them, and then said nothing about it. Like this, Trump's always big into calling failure and bullshit, but he couldn't wait to praise them. And since Trump's been president, he's done nothing about this. And all these, fake, these wannabe truthers need to if you're going to be a truther, you got to be a truther, right? If you're going to be somebody who looks for truth, then you have to call truth. You got to call bullshit when you see it. And you got to learn to see it better, right? Like, you missed on this.
The officer that if he came over there, he could see them. And when
He's got all these clips of these people.
Law enforcement, hey, there's a guy.
This kind of stuff.
Unsuspicious. The fact that multiple civilians saw a guy climbing on roofs and multiple roofs, by the way, with a rifle, and he used a ladder to get up there. and they were pointing, telling cops, trying to tell the Secret Service, they have drugs.
Okay, dude, like, just you're digging yourself into a hole here, bro, right? And I'm not like, this is what I'm saying. This is just an example. Like all these people, and this guy has something to offer and people like him, that's fine, whatever it is, right? But you can't miss on something like this. And if you do miss on it, you got to, there's got to be some level of, yeah, I fucking blew this one, right? Like this was beyond me. You got to, there's just something you got to say. You got to, or at least explain, but it was so obvious. It was one of the most obviously fake things. And so few of these truthers were willing to say it or could see it. Like it's two things. Either you can't see it, that means you're not really good at your job, or you're not willing to say it, which means you're scared of telling the truth to the Trumpers who are going to leave you and all that other bullshit, right? But you should be able to see it now. Like if you couldn't see it then, there's no excuse not to see it now. Okay, so I want to wrap up this video here. I got something kind of interesting to say about in my next video, and that I'm doing today, Saturday, April 26th. Got a bunch of stuff that's that should be at the beginning of the video. That's why I'm not adding it. I was going to add stuff here and have a great, what I consider a profound narrative to do it in front of my next video. But this is also important. And it's coming at the end of the video, but this talks about the truth community. And, when I got into it in 2000, you could say I was into it, my whole life in different ways. Like I just have not been somebody who agreed with the official story or understood it or believed in it. Like it wasn't, this spell of America wasn't really my thing. And so, I found out stuff from my brother when I was in college, and I did a report when I was 10 years old. My first truther thing was a report that the Civil War was about economics. Like I went to the library and I got some adult book by accident. I don't know how I got the book. And the book was about how the Civil War was really about economics and not about slavery. The Northern people weren't doing this because they were, against slavery and they just were good people, Abraham Lincoln and these things. They were doing it because the North was getting their ass kicked by the South economically, which, makes it a lot seedier, the whole thing, the Civil War, because of, using it as an excuse. America does it quite often where we go to war because we're doing some noble thing. And it wasn't noble, right? When the Civil War wasn't noble for that reason. Not that slavery certainly had to end. So that was, that was a horrible thing, and so whatever reason it ended is a good thing. And Civil War was maybe necessary for that to happen. Like, I don't know if it would have ended any other way. But the North isn't, the North was brutal in the way they burned the South, and the war was a very brutal war. Civil wars are the worst. And it's something we should be aware of now because we're in a different form of civil war. And civil wars are, again, much more personal than other types of wars. Like, wars are all bad. But, it's people who are very different, who don't understand each other. A civil war is also a divorce. And so anyways, I've been doing the truther stuff for a long time. And, the thing about the truther stuff is realizing the official story is 100% bullshit. Like, there's truth in it. But its whole orientation is to take you away from your divine path or your divine purpose. And again, this isn't about religion. The problems that I have here is that, a lot of people who are truthers now are either Trumpers or Christian or, any number of things. And I'm not any of those things because, these are all part of the big lie. Not the big lie that the media sold, but the big lie which, this idea that once you gave up your tribes and your families and your skills and your, all these things that we had generations ago when we left the farm, that the system would always be here for you. And that's simply not the case, right? Like they knew this was, because it's a short-lived system. And because of the debt-based economy, we had accelerated technological growth because you could borrow money before you did the work. In every other stable system, you have to do the work first and create something, and then you you make money and you make it into something. But when you can borrow the money first, it accelerates the process because, trying to invent something and create a market for something, like all these technological things that have happened, these technological advancements, if you can borrow money to do it, then it just makes it that much easier. Like having the money, like most inventors are poor, right? And they have to sell it to some rich person who, doesn't really understand it or get it. And, and then, the whole thing. But when you can borrow money now and have, free money, like, low interest money, and invest in something like this, it accelerates, especially a global situation when it's a global market. And so we haven't been ready for our technology. Like most technologies, you're supposed to, have one thing, at a time, like computers for 100 years, and then cell phones for 100 years, like, something like that. Like, that would take years and years to matriculate this thing into your life. But we've seen the accelerated development of technology, exponential growth, and now, of course, robots and things. And people aren't mature enough and ready enough to understand what these things do to you and your family and these things, Wi-Fi, all this stuff that we have now, all this, electromagnetic pollution and things that are disruptive to our subtle bodies and our, physical systems. And, all the media and information we have been bombarded with. There's been big changes that have happened rapidly without us being able to digest them. And rapid technological growth, and also rapid population growth and rapid global markets and all these things that are different and new, and travel and all the things that we have that we didn't have before have happened in like a 60-year period, like an 80-year period, right? Like we went from having, the introduction of automobiles, 125 years ago or whatever it was, 100 years ago. Like just cars were like only 100 years ago, we were just learning to have cars. And then, of course, like running water and all these other things, right? And so, it's all built on the fallacy that this is a stable economy, which it isn't. And growth has to be a part of the economy because the interest is the issue. The interest is the sorcerer's fee for conjuring up wealth, right? For, the scammer's fee for manufacturing, creating imaginary value out of nothing, which is what our currencies are, right? So, in all that, there is a doomsday type of, and not just a doomsday in terms of the collapse of civilization, and also, atomic energy and shit like that, right? Where we now have things that we're just not mature enough to have. And you have people like Trump and these other morons who are in charge of this, mentally ill men who are immature and, selfish and narcissistic and psychologically impaired across the board in all these fucking countries, right? So, they understand the truth community was that the official story is bullshit. And there would always going to be the time where somebody was going to come in, some film fam con artist like Trump, and people like him, like this across the board, polluting the truth community. And they were going to hijack some of the, this idea that the whole official story is bullshit. But they weren't going to, they were still part of it. They weren't like us. They weren't going to be part of the truth community. And so, and all these truthers, people who were kind of waking up, would gravitate to them because they want to really be a part of the establishment. They want to be a part of the club. And so they would gravitate to someone like Trump or any celebrity that's come into the truth community, any person that flirts with the truthers. Truthers immediately run to them. Any important person, any athlete, any celebrity, any politician, anybody. Because they still are in this idea that those people are better than them and those people have, whatever. They don't get the whole idea that, that's actually being a higher level person in this system is embarrassing. It's a bad thing. It's not an indication of being on a higher level. It's somebody who's on a, who's even more, in a dysfunctional demonic system has more of a hold on them. The higher you up in the system, the more it has a hold on you. The more that you depend on fame and fortune and all these things and power, and you're given by this demonic system, the more that the demonic energy it reigns over your existence, and the more you're you're a slave to, you're a bigger slave to the system because you're in it, like you're in it even more than the average person. But people in the truth community run to these people who are, broken people who have been, even more affected by the demonic system. And even if they're saying some of the right things, they're still, they're behind you, like they're not ahead of you. And so, when Trump came in and people kind of saw the system for what it is, and he's like guy saying things that was like, oh, I can fix this. And it can't be fixed. And that's, this is a whole issue in the truth community. All the right-wing truthers, all the Christian truthers, the Christian truthers more than anybody else, it's in your own fucking story, right? It's in the book of Revelation, the end fucking days, right? Like, why would you believe Trump can fix it if there's end days? There's Christians who believe Trump's been sent by God to save the system when it's already been prophesized in your book, in the fundamental aspect of your religion as a book, and you're still buying into that shit, right? And so all these other truthers who are, not saying what I'm saying here, and not because it's my message, because it's not my message, right? I mean, it's something that I've gotten over years from my own observation, but certainly through, many different, just what's going on in the world. We see it on a daily basis that this is not sustainable, and it's not good for us. We're going in the wrong direction. We're heading towards a idiocracy type situation. So that's when I say this stuff about Ketchupgate or any of these other things. It's like a measuring stick of who can be trustworthy, and they could be good guys or good people. They could be, whatever, like people that you like and identify with, but their judgment is impaired because they're not willing to go to where this thing needs to go, which is an understanding that the collapse of our system is not only inevitable, but it's a divine. It's not some controller-based thing. It's not it's not the elite. It's not any of these things. It comes from divinity. And connecting to divinity within you is the solution, right? People have lost their way. They have lost their, through their bogus bullshit religions and through the heavy, dense materialism of our system and the bells and whistles and the sensory stimulation and all of it. They've lost their connection to God, even in a primitive way. Like, most people say they're religious, but they don't really, the religion is more as a social system than it is them actively working to be there and connect to God in some way. Because, people just don't want to do that because they know that they are going to have to give shit up, right? Because everyone knows that there are things that they are doing that if they were connected to God and they had to answer to God, they couldn't do, right? If they had to answer to their soul or some higher higher level consciousness, there's things that they would have to say, I'm wasting my time here. At the very least, it's a waste of your time. And time is the most precious commodity. Time is a currency. It's a divine currency that you're given for a purpose, and most people are just, throwing away their time, right? Wasting their time. And, that's the least of it, right? Then there's just the blatantly going against God's will and contributing to a demonic system that is, destroying the divinity, the purity of this planet and, our lives and all these things. And so, people have to come to terms with that. Like, you want to call people black-pilled, but being black-pilled is just, and again, it depends on what black-pilled means for you or what the person's saying. But it's just accepting that the system across the board, there's no deep state. The whole thing sucks. There's good things about it, sure. There's good things on a material level, but they come from a false place, a debt-based economy, and a perverted culture, and demonic, and an overall demonic system. And so the good things themselves are not good things because they don't come from a pure place. And so what's scary about that is because we have to change everything. And really, most of us, including myself, it's a hard thing. The change can come as fast as our technology has grown, the lack of it, and the collapse of our way of life, and then just, having the shock of it will kill most people. And so that's why most people don't even want to think about it, because it's one of those things that if, with people saying, well, if that's true, I don't care. Like, I'll just give up. I can't handle that. Like, that can't be something that I can even think about being a reality or possibility. Like, it destabilizes most people. And that should tell you everything you know. That, what's waiting for most, the end of the system, what's waiting for everybody, will destabilize them in such a way that they can't survive it. Like, they just can't adjust themselves enough to adapt to this new reality. And that's, that should tell you everything you need to know about our species and where we are, and how we fucked ourselves by, doing something that was, warned against on every level. The divine forces were there, the warnings were there. This planet is monitored by divine beings. There's, higher developed souls that are, there to guide people in the right direction. We have our own spiritual support system, and people ignored all that shit and all the things on the material level that are red flags saying, yeah, you got to stop this shit. Things that should have, if people had ethics and morals, they never would have embarked on, never would have even considered, like atomic bombs and other shit like that. And we did it anyway, and now we've created a fucking nightmare scenario for future versions of ourselves, and we don't even know how bad we're fucked until, it starts to implode around us, and we're at that time. Anyways, those are just some cheery words. Only spirituality will save this world. It's Paramato, definitely point for the apocalypse and the ascension. Everyone have a blessed day and be grateful.